You are listening to Down Home. In 1849, a black man climbed into a wooden box, 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, and made his way to freedom 27 hours later. His name was Henry Brown, or Henry Box Brown, and his journey from slavery in Virginia to liberty in Philadelphia would capture imaginations around the world. But that's not where the story ends. After the Fugitive Slave Act made freedom fragile in the U.S., Brown took his message and his magic to the UK and eventually Canada, where he rebuilt his life and shared his tale of courage across stages. I'm Derek Wise, and on behalf of Jay Jones, welcome to Down Home, the Canadian experience by two black men.
Breaking new ground, 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 breaking new ground.
So, this guy, man, like, such an interesting dude. Like, I've never heard his name. I vaguely remember the story or stories like this, but I don't remember ever hearing his name. Like, literally, I don't, why hasn't a movie been made about this guy, or has a movie been made about this guy?
No, definitely not. I've never heard of it either. I've never heard the story at all. But like you say, there were so many similar stories of resilience. But yeah, this was exactly like a movie. I was just thinking about that. I was like, why hasn't this a movie? Yeah. Hollywood could probably, get a lot of stories going if they weren't so ashamed of the history they have with Black history, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. Like even his early life, is was quite interesting. Like, we've heard this a number of times now where, like, an enslaved person is kind of like hired out to work somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then whoever owns that particular person gets the money.
Mm-hmm.
So in his instance, he was hired out to work in a tobacco plantation or a tobacco factory in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like, one of the main things from that was, it was actually, I don't know, he seemed to sort of, in the guise of slavery, he seemed to be doing all right because he was working at his tobacco farm. He had a wife named Nancy, who was also a fellow slave. They had 3 kids. Unfortunately, back then there was a rule called, it's like, I don't know if it's like Latin or something, but it was basically the understanding that if you had children born into slavery, they were also slaves.
Yeah.
So, so he had his 3 kids. So he was paying his slave owner to buy Nancy's freedom.
Yeah.
And just like sort of what happened is Josiah Henson, the slave owner betrayed him. Nancy was sold off along with his family. So right there, that must have been the thing that set him off in order to,
exactly. In the way that he found out, because he, of course, wrote his memoirs.
Yes.
And in his memoirs, he's saying, like, he got up one morning and he sees like 350 people being marched down towards like a transport, and marching under the direction of a Methodist minister. He saw his wife and kids.
Yeah.
in the amongst the people being marched down. So like literally, this is it's so dramatic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's insane. Oh yeah. The so-called law was called I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Partus Sequitur Ventrum, Partus Sequitur Ventrum. And that was the principle, basically meaning a family born, if you were born into slavery, people who were already enslaved, you followed in their footsteps.
Yeah, of course. But like you said, he, like, seeing his family being sold off like that, even though there was an agreement to keep them together. by them paying the slave owner.
Hmm.
That kind of set his mind to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I got to get out of here."
And I'm not surprised because, I mean, this was before he made it to the northern states, which was Philadelphia. Like when he got there to Philadelphia, he also became a well-known abolitionist, speaking out against slavery. But he was also paranoid about the 1850 law that was
Yeah,
passed, which was called
the Fugitive Slave Act.
there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Part of the Compromise of 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act was designed to strengthen the early 1793 Act and appease slaveholding states in America. It required all citizens north and south to help capture and return runaway enslaved people. Federal marshals could arrest alleged fugitives even in free states, and those who helped runaways faced heavy fines or jail. Worse still, accused individuals couldn't testify on their own behalf, meaning even free black Americans could be kidnapped and sold into slavery. The law outraged abolitionists, fueled the growth of the Underground Railroad. It also deepened America's divide, pushing it one step closer to civil war. Yeah, let's circle back around before we get to Philly.
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk about the box that he went in, man. Like,
Yes. True.
it was 3 feet by 2 feet
2 feet.
wide, 2.5 feet deep.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find any measurements of how big or small Henry Brown was.
Yeah.
But just keep that in 3 feet long.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is a camera, but that's about a foot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
3 feet long, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that's not very big.
no,
3
it's
by
not.
2.
Like,
So he had to be sitting in like the lotus position
yeah,
with his head down. Apparently there was one hole for air and
Yeah.
he had enough to carry some water and a few biscuits.
yeah, exactly. Like, and he was in that box for 27 hours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And let's can I describe what he did? He went by wagon, railroad, steamboat, wagon again, railroad, ferry, railroad, then another wagon. And that took 27 hours.
27 hours, man.
And also sometimes he said in his memoirs that, although it said dry goods on it and handle with care, sometimes he'd be upside down,
Yeah.
like all the way he was being maneuvered around being shipped. But
Yeah.
the whole time he was determined to be quiet and, try to go through it.
Yeah, just amazing, man. But yeah, as you were saying in Philly, a free northern state like it is, but he was quite freaked out about the Fugitive Slave Act,
Right.
and the possibility of being recaptured and basically shipped back down into slavery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing that I found really sad is the fact that this law, of course, like I don't know the ins and outs, but this law was kind of crazy in the fact that, the northern states which were considered free states, they were told to comply. You know what I mean? It was part of some compromise. But the thing is that, I totally lost my train of thought. Thank you for that. I mean, I did it to myself. So, yeah, it was just this. Oh, yeah, this law was also very controversial at the time, and which could have been one of the things that led off the Civil War itself.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So yeah, so from Philly, he made his way over to the UK. But before we go, like, I don't know if you found this, but so he toured around the northern states with a lot of other abolitionists,
Yeah.
and gave talks to abolitionist crowds and stuff like that. So he knew Frederick Douglass quite well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I found a article stating that Frederick Douglass didn't quite like him. Right? He didn't actually like, Henry Box Brown. And it was because, number one, his memoir that he published in 1849 gave away all the secrets of how he escaped. Right? Every single secret of how he escaped.
Yeah.
And Douglas was like, why did you do it? We could have used that for other people to
Blueprint for
escape.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing that Douglas didn't quite like about Brown is Brown was a very performative guy.
Hmm.
He was
Yeah.
outspoken, he was loud
Yeah.
and outspoken
He
in a
draw.
time where being a loud and outspoken black man could have gotten you either killed or captured or something like that.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
seemed like a character because the first words that he said when he was a free person was, "Well, how do you do, gentlemen?" Like as soon as they lifted it out. I mean, I don't know how he said it, but that's what the quote was. And also, the one thing that I really liked to see was, I mean, I don't know. His quote was basically, if you have never been deprived of your liberty as I was, you cannot realize the power of hope and freedom, which to me was an anchor to the soul, both sure and steadfast. So these are some of the things he was thinking while he was being transported all the way. And also, just to circle back to the day of his escape, to get out of work, he actually burned his hand down to the bone with sulfuric acid.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that. Oh, my
yeah.
goodness.
So that's how he got out of working in the tobacco fields, and he
Wow.
did that. So not only was he traveling with just a few biscuits and some water, he was also traveling with a hand that was burned down to the bone
Wow.
because that was the only way he could get out of it. And that's what's crazy. It's because in many episodes we've talked about all these sort of small sort of uprisings that had for people to escape because in some cases white America always wanted to make it seem like everybody who was enslaved complied and it was
Yeah.
such a happy life.
Mm.
But these are sort of the extremes that people went into to sort of fight for the freedom. Not only the little bit of money they were getting, he was trying to pay for his family's freedom, but it really, it's just really crazy when you see all these laws that they made and what these people had to do. Like every turn, everything was against them. Like they
Yeah.
were not free. And even when they did escape, they were worried and paranoid that, oh yeah, let's capture these people and give them back to their southern enslavers.
Yeah.
You know what I
True,
mean?
true.
Insane.
Yeah. So he ends up in largely because of the Fugitive Slave Act in 1850. He made his way to Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And like the guy's something else, man. He was what you can kind of call a performing artist
Yeah.
and a magician.
Yeah.
So that's how he made his living in Britain.
Yeah.
And he ended
definitely
up
made himself disappear.
I know. And he ended up like marrying a white lady
Mm-hmm.
in Britain and starting another family. So interracial relationship in 1860. Even in Britain, that would be kind of a hard thing to like. This guy was he was ballsy, he was outspoken, he was a performer.
Yeah.
If they had movies back then, I think the guy would be like a movie star.
Yeah.
If they had movies back then, obviously they didn't. But
Yeah. I mean, just the sort of witherall to have the plan that he had.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So also I want to talk about back then for him to do such a thing, he had $166 in his savings.
Yeah.
So he had to use 86 of that to be shipped off. So the equivalent of in 2024 would have been $3,250.
Yeah.
So, that's what
Yeah.
he did to do his freedom, half of his savings. And, he would have been I can't believe this story isn't more well known, but it
Yeah.
totally has all the makings for a movie.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's possible that because he was so outspoken and he wasn't well liked by the established abolitionists like Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe
he
that's
was-
why his story has been tamped down and not shared as much. You
Yeah,
know?
that's true too. Or they try to keep it quiet so they could one day try to revisit this sort of escape that he made, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, very good point. But it's pretty crazy just what he went through. Like,
Yeah. And there's a Canadian spin on this. The last decade of his life, he spent in Toronto.
Oh, wow.
From 1886, he died in 1897. Yeah, he spent the last 10 years of his life in Toronto.
Wow.
He did actually return to the States in 1875 with his new family, his wife and his daughter, and they
Yeah.
moved to Canada.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Because he lived in England for 25 years. I
He
believe.
did. He
Yeah.
did.
So, and he was 33 at the time that he made the escape.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah.
But he went on to live, you know, a
A
life
full
anyway.
life.
Yeah.
A full life. Another Canadian linked to an abolitionist, though, right? Like these abolitionists saw like true freedom, or what would be considered true freedom at the time, in Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing that, and what the sad thing about that is that, you know, not to bring it up, but the indigenous did not, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just such a convoluted time of, you know, what places do to the, you know, I don't know. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
not going to get into
No,
too
well,
much.
not to get into the weeds, but like what the Canadian officials did to the indigenous, yeah, like, but you're coming from chattel style slavery to, you know,
Yeah,
possibility of having freedom.
yeah. Very, very, very
Yeah.
true too, because,
Yeah.
you know, blacks were not in the Southern days, especially actually even Henry Brown's slave owner. He said he was not kind, which obviously most of them weren't. But he said sometimes some of the enslavers, overseers were actually kind, you know, but most of them weren't, you know. So they just got, you know, as you read these stories, you go, oh my goodness, look what this person had to do. And then not to mention the displaced families. Like we don't really see the repercussions of what they were going through at the time. We just see slavery as a whole. But I mean, these sort of things are going on today. And, you know, it's still a good example of the kind of human spirit you need to even survive in those times and even today's times, you know?
Yeah, true.
Anyway, yeah. Henry Box Brown. Literally.
Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, simple breaking new ground, breaking new ground.
You have been listening to Down Home. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, simple breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, yeah. On a high plateau, from the one down below to the future of the funk, getting lost in the flow. Contact with the spark magex. Now it's time to flex with the force from the soul, reaching all aspects, getting deep, no time to sleep. As you reach your next phase, laying it all on the line. New trails start to blaze. It's a fire inside. A brand new path, breaking down the sum to one, feeling free.
The song, Breaking New Ground, from The Breakdown.
So strong, transcribe with the vibe like magic prescribed. Only the seal a perfect blend, like a diamond in the rough, ready to drop a perfect gem. It's time to shine. So